This is pretty satisfying to watch. There are only a few brave celebrities who have the guts to stand up to the woke crowd, but when they do, it's glorious. These stars don't back down, and when they push back, they do it with confidence and style, effectively silencing their critics. You definitely want to stick around till the end because it's a story that put everyone on the edge of their seats. Before I go on with the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more discussions just like this.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
This was back in 2006 with the late Mike Wallace, and Morgan is absolutely correct in saying Black history is American history. The contributions, struggles, and achievements of Black Americans are an essential part of our country's story. From the fight for civil rights to shaping our culture, politics, and innovations, Black Americans have played a huge role in building this nation. So setting aside just 1 month for Black history feels like we're separating something that should be front and center year-round, just like the rest of American history. While the intention behind it might be good, dedicating just 28 days to celebrating it can come off as more of a symbolic gesture than actual inclusion. In fact, the separation can unintentionally polarize society. It can make people view history through different lenses, focusing on identity rather than the collective experience that binds us together. And we also have Matthew McConaughey talking about one of the most sensitive issues for everyone today, the Second Amendment.
We need to invest in mental health care. We need safer schools. We need to restrain sensationalized media coverage. We need to restore our family values. We need to restore our American values. And we need responsible gun ownership. Responsible gun ownership. We need background checks. We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals.
This took place after the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas back in 2022, and he grew up there. Matthew's emotional plea wasn't just about politics, it was personal. He famously called it gun responsibility instead of the woke left pushed gun control term. Needless to say, his message, which is reasonable to many, ended up driving some people crazy. Some news outlets even started accusing him of grandstanding, but others praised him, like NBC News, where they released an article titled, quote, "Matthew McConaughey's gun speech did what Biden's didn't. I think what made this speech so interesting was that he wasn't pushing a hardline agenda from either side. Instead, he tried to balance between protecting the rights to bear arms while also pointing to the need for responsible ownership. His call for unity, focusing on solutions that most Americans could agree on, seemed like a breath of fresh air in an otherwise divided debate. A year later, he went on to The View, and it was obvious that the panel was trying to get some sort of a political statement from him, but Matthew wasn't having any of it, and he shot back ruthlessly at them. Watch next what the situation unfolded like.
In 2021, you considered to run for governor of the state of Texas. Do you think political office is in your future? Can you see that?
If it's where I would deem myself to be most useful,
Yeah.
yes.
Do you think you would get elected in Texas being anti-gun?
Do I think I could get elected in Texas being anti-gun? One thing about if me in politics is to give you a direct statement right there is playing a game that I'm not interested in playing.
Okay.
To give you a direct statement right there.
I love the no-nonsense attitude here from him. It was obvious what Sonny and Joy were trying to do. They first set up the conversation to take a political turn and then tried to paint McConaughey as some sort of anti-gun advocate. You could almost feel them gearing up for a big gotcha moment, but in classic McConaughey style, he shut it down immediately. You could see the moment they realized their narrative wasn't sticking, and by the way, I've noticed you haven't subscribed or liked yet, so what are you waiting for? McConaughey didn't fall for any of the typical traps, and he didn't let himself be boxed into a political category, and the fact that he stood his ground so confidently without taking the bait left the host kind of speechless. Instead of getting defensive or letting the conversation spiral into one of those typical daytime talk show brawls, he set the record straight. In fact, as a Texas native and gun owner himself, he fully supports the Second Amendment, and in his White House speech, Matthew wasn't calling for people's guns to be taken away. Instead, he was calling for smarter, more thoughtful gun laws that would help prevent tragedies like the one from his hometown of Uvalde. Next up, we'll cover Brett Weinstein, who saw it as his duty to stand up to the woke mob at Evergreen State College.
There is this event called Day of Absence, which was a long-standing event at the college where basically at first black people and then later on more generally people of color did not come to work, and they held discussions separately. And then in 2017 they changed this to a request that white people not come to campus, and I responded to this and I said that was unacceptable. This was a public college. I wasn't going to be told I couldn't teach my class. And that did cause a bit of a firestorm, but that firestorm was embedded in a much longer battle that had begun to simmer when the new president of the college, George Bridges, showed up and impaneled a committee effectively to suggest mechanisms for restructuring the college. And the mechanisms were insane. They were a recipe for destroying the place, and it was my obligation as a faculty member to point out that it would be a terrible idea for us to adopt these policies. And so the Day of Absence controversy became the explanation that the public got for why things erupted when they did. But it was one example among many of things that were afoot at the college.
Is it just me, or does the woke mob want to take us back to the era of racial segregation and Jim Crow laws? There's a reason why the civil rights movement sought to get rid of them, because they do nothing but sow division in society, which took decades of struggle to begin undoing. I can't help but notice the similarity between the Evergreen debates and the blackout events that call for an all-black audience at certain theatrical performances. Getting back on topic, Brett also criticized a recommendation by Evergreen State College's Equity and Inclusion Council to require an equity justification explanation for all faculty hires. Students and other faculty members accused him of racism and demanded his resignation, leading to chaotic protests and threats, with police advising him and his wife, who was also a professor at the college, to stay off campus to ensure their safety. This effectively forced them out of their jobs due to the hostile environment, but the couple didn't back down and they filed a $3.85 million tort claim against the college, alleging that it had failed to protect its employees from repeated provocative and corrosive verbal and written hostility based on race, as well as threats of physical violence. They eventually ended up accepting a $500,000 settlement, and the college issued a statement saying the college admits no liability and rejects the allegations made in the tort claim. I say kudos to Professor Weinstein and his wife, because even when they came under massive fire from the woke club, they chose to stand up for free speech and academic freedom. What are your thoughts on this, though? Let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you want your friends to be informed like you are, make sure to share the video with them.